Well, this morning we have Lori Horton with us to teach us another amazing recipe. Good morning. What are we making today?
Oh, today we are making peach pie cruffins. I know it sounds a little bit weird. They're not really a croissant, but they're not really a muffin, but they're so good.
Yes.
And super easy to make. These are going to be perfect for your family reunions, the new folks moving into the neighborhood, all the things that we're going to be having coming up this summer. Yeah, and they're so quick and easy to put together. So we're going to start with just regular, ready-to-use, refrigerated crescent dough. The fun part is that wonderful pop of getting these out of the container, but these are ready to go. So
that was such a fun thing to do when you were a kid. I remember, it just explodes.
To death. I hate that part of it. I still don't love it. We're just going to take that dough right out as it is. We're going to unroll it. Put this on like some parchment paper or something on your counter so it doesn't stick. Roll it out nice and flat, and you'll see what you kind of have are 4 sections. So we would get 8 croissants out of this if we were going to separate them all out. But we want to actually take that dough and just lightly pinch those seams together and turn it into one nice big solid piece. Okay. So just gently, you don't want to, push through the dough and make a hole in it, but you do want to just kind of tap those seams together. You'll notice too sometimes that there are some thicker sections, like I can feel this end of the dough is a little bit thicker than this part. So try to even it out a little bit and make sure that that's really well sealed up.
Wonderful.
We're just using this because it's such a lovely light dough, kind of has those layers to it. So it really lends itself to those pieces and that fruit filling. So all I'm going to do is take that dough and go right along that seam line long ways and break this into a couple pieces. And then I'm going to split those pieces in half again. So what we're going to end up with is 4 cruffins per tube. So if you're making a dozen, obviously we're going to need 3 tubes of our crescent dough mix or our crescent dough rolls. But you can just do a few of these for the family for a Sunday morning brunch. Just go with 1. Yeah. And then when we come back, we're going to make a nice fruit filling that we're going to actually use preserves. And the difference we talk about, like preserves, jelly, jam, all these different things. With the preserves, you get some whole fruit pieces. So
it's always delicious.
So good. And we're again coming up on that season where if you're a homemaker and you want to make your own jams or jellies from that with that whole fresh fruit, absolutely go for it. It's going to be so good in this recipe. It doesn't have to be as thick. It can be a little bit more of a compote or a puree, anything in there with that whole fruit. Just keep in mind if it's a seeded fruit that you may want to strain that if you're using blackberries, fresh raspberries.
Great tip.
Because those kind of hang out in there. So when we come back, we're going to kind of use a little bit of a quicker, easier, ready to go version and fill these up and make them look delicious.
All right, sounds delicious, Lori. Thanks. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We have Lori Horton with us this morning, and we've been making some cruffins that are perfect for the summertime. It's so fun to say cruffins. I know, right? Tell me about what the next step is now that we have our dough prepped.
We've got our dough all ready to go, and again, this is just our regular, ready-to-use refrigerated crescent dough. Use your favorite brand. There's a lot of different kinds if you like the extra buttery ones. There's even some Hawaiian sweet ones I noticed in the store this weekend, so don't be afraid to experiment a little bit with that. But I'm just using some jarred ready-to-use peach preserves, and as we said, we want some that have those whole pieces of fruit in it because it's so good when you bite into that and you get that little bit of the actual fruit piece in there. It just feels a little more authentic.
Yes.
And we're going to put about a half a jar in there, give or take. We're going to doctor this up a little bit, make it a little bit better. So we're going to add a little bit of cinnamon. If you're using apple, if you're using any of those types of flavors, just a little dash of cinnamon in that is such a good way to boost that fruit flavor and really bring it out.
If you were to do some with berries, what would you suggest to kind of doctor that up?
Maybe just a little bit of a granule sugar, a bigger grain sugar with that would be really, really good. Or even a splash of almond extract.
Or like lemon juice or something
absolutely.
too. Okay, wonderful.
Especially if you're going to make some from scratch compote or just like a puree. A little bit of lemon juice always brightens those berries. So And then we're going to cheat, and we're going to make this a little bit less messy. So I'm going to take just like a quart-size Ziploc bag here.
Okay.
I'm going to try to transfer this without making too big of a mess from my bowl. And then I'm going to clip that end off so that I can just sort of pipe this filling into my strips. Now you can do this where you just cut 2 pieces long ways out of your croissant dough and then slice it in half. But it does get a little bit messy when you go to roll it and trim it in our next step. So this actually gives us a little more control, where we're just going to put a little line down that. And we're actually then just going to seal that filling up in there.
Okay. So you want to make sure it's in the middle.
You want to make sure it's pretty much in the middle.
Okay.
If you're doing the 2 pieces, you're going to get more of a roll out of it, so you can kind of put it to one end so that it doesn't just like squish out the end. Yeah. That's a technical term, squish out there. So we want to fairly well seal that up. It's okay if you get some little bits coming out, because as it bakes, that's going to happen. But the pretty part is we're going to take this and actually twist it. And you've got a long end with a somewhat broken seam, so don't try to do it all in one piece. You'll twist one direction on one end, the opposite on the other end, so you get a little bit of a twist. And then, this will be a little bit hard for you guys to see because my hand will be in the way, but we're gonna roll that into just a continuous roll. So when we get done, what you've got, if you can come in a little bit on that, is this nice little twisted ring. Yes. And then we've rolled it into a piece.
Kind of look like roses.
They kind of do. So when we come back, we're going to get those situated in our pan. We'll top them, a couple important steps, and then we'll be ready to sample.
All right, wonderful. Lori, thanks. Stick around. We'll be right back. Lori Horton is with us, finishing up the last steps for these delicious looking peach cruffins. Now tell me what's left.
Okay, all that's left is to kind of prep these to bake. And you can do these in a standard size muffin tin, or I've got a jumbo one here. I did some in both last night. They bake well either way.
Great.
Most important step with that is to spray the pan. So this isn't one that you're going to really put like a baking paper or anything in. It's just not going to work well. So you want to be sure that you do spray that really well with a baking spray, or take some butter and line that. But you're going to take your pretty little floury little cruffin there, just drop that right into your pan, fill that up. These bake at kind of a high temp, 375 for about 15 to 20 minutes, and play that by ear according to kind of the weather and the humidity and everything. But our last step, once those are ready to go into the oven, if you want to make them look a little bit pretty, you can add a little bit of a larger grain sugar on the top.
Those are really pretty,
They are really pretty, and they will hold a little bit of color when they come out. So you can put just a little bit, maybe extra of your preserves on top, and then sprinkle a little bit of that coarse ground sugar on there. Again, if you were doing different flavors, maybe the apple, you could put just a little cinnamon and sugar on top. Whatever kind of sets that off for you. But when they come out, when they're still really warm and at that perfect point, we're going to add a little bit of glaze on top, ideally. Now, obviously, mine are not still warm. They've been out of the oven for a while. But I've got about a half a cup of powdered sugar here in my bowl. I'm going to very precisely measure about 3 tablespoons of whipping cream here on the top. And again, if you want to add a little vanilla, since we have cinnamon in these, I'm going to put a little dash of cinnamon in there as well. But you can add a little extract, whatever, to it. And we're just going to slowly work this together. We may add just a little more whipping cream to it to get a good texture. But make sure it's really well combined. You don't want any lumps. You don't want any extra little pieces that aren't going to melt nicely.
What kind of consistency are you looking for? Just
we're going for a little bit thinner than a frosting. So
kind of like
something
glue kind of.
Yeah, kind of. That's it.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
It sort of does at this point. We want it something that's a little bit pourable. So I'm going to add just a little splash more here of it. If you'll see when I pull this up, it's got a pretty good pour to it, but we'll go just a smidge more because we really want it to kind of melt into all of those nooks and crannies on the top of our cruffins. Again, while they're warm, it is delicious. So perfect. And just again, to be a little bit less messy, you can also take this and put it into your Ziploc bag to kind of pipe around on there, or depending on what you're mixing with, the whisk works really well to just kind of pick this up and drizzle on the top.
Oh,
and
those
be
look
generous.
so good.
But if you do let them set, you let them cool off, set in the fridge for just a little bit, makes them a little bit easier to wrap up and package if you're going to do some little baskets or some gift pieces out of those. If you're serving them right out of the oven, grab a little scoop of vanilla ice cream, maybe a little bit of some whipped cream with that. They're not really breakfast, they are so dessert, but really, really simple and easy.
So delicious, wonderful. Well, Lori, as always, thanks so much for being with us this morning. We'll, of course, have this recipe later on this morning, KOAMnewsnow.com. Be sure to check it out. Stick around. We'll be right back.